So here we are, just days away from hitting 2 million subscribers on the vidIQ YouTube channel. And to be honest with you, it all feels very surreal. First of all, let me get this out before I forget. Thank you. Thank you for supporting us on our journey to help you with your YouTube journey. And our journey on this channel has been a long one, over 8 years now, with struggles, breakthroughs, ups, downs, self-doubt, but ultimately big victories and major milestones. But if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck with your own YouTube channel and your YouTube journey, I just want you to know that I truly do know exactly how you feel. I was in the same position you are right now when you're watching big channels get thousands, maybe even millions of views every single video, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm putting all of this hard work in, I'm grinding every single day, and I barely get over 100 views. But here is the raw truth. It's not easy for us, them, or you. Every creator, no matter their size, has had this moment multiple times. Is it worth it? And if you're a regular here, you know what I'm about to say in my slightly eccentric way. Yes, it is worth it. If you're watching this video, no matter how long you've been on YouTube running a channel, you're still holding on to that hope and drive that you're going to work this out. And trust me when I say that persistence and patience truly is everything. So today, I'm here to give you the real story on how to grow a channel to 1,982,814 subscribers. I'll be sharing the struggles, hard lessons, and truth of this journey. Whatever your current YouTube goal is, if you're willing to stick it out, there is a path forward. And here's how it starts. Yes, a pattern interrupt, a scene change. I'm going to go through all of my sets, so at the end of the video, do let me know which is your favourite in the comments below. Let's start with a reality check. People don't know just how long it takes to grow a YouTube channel. You can take a look at the big and popular creators today, such as Ryan Trahan, Alex Hormozy, and Marques Brownlees, and not realise that they've been at this for 5, 10, even 15 years. You'll often discover these creators when they're at their best. They've put in 10,000 hours of learning, effort, and execution. So many creators are looking for that shortcut to success, and they get disappointed and deflated after only a few months of creating content. They think that the most successful creators have some big secrets. And yeah, they do. They never stopped. But at the same time, there is no secret hack that these creators are using. They didn't magically figure things overnight. It took them years of perseverance, trial and error, constant learning to get where they are. And it's the same for us. If you scroll all the way through the vidIQ channel to the very beginning, or in fact for any of your favourite creators, you'll see it for yourself. The awkward body language, the rough storytelling, the ugly thumbnails, basic editing. You know, a question we're often asked is, should I delete my old videos because they're rubbish? And my simple answer to that is no. They're not going to impact how your channel performs today, and they are a fantastic reminder of where you were then to where you are now. Any creator can go back and look at the videos they were making 6 months ago and think to themselves, wow, I've come such a long way and I'm such a better creator. You can do that right now on our channel. And the two things you'll quickly notice are I've grown a beard and I've lost my eyesight. But we've come such a long way, and yet we've still got so far to go. And that is what I would call a YouTube rite of passage that everybody needs to go through. There is a monumental difference between the idea of being a YouTuber, an influencer, or whatever you want to call it, and actually doing it. For me, it came down to this. After starting a YouTube channel and working on it full time basically for 6 months, making 50 videos, I was still getting barely 100 views per video. But at that time, it didn't matter, because I loved falling in love with making videos, the creativity behind it all. As an introvert looking for a place to share my content creatively, YouTube was the ideal distribution platform. In short, it didn't really matter who was watching my videos or how many people were watching my videos. I was addicted. If after 6 months of being on YouTube, someone asks you if you're going to make another video, I hope your answer is going to be, well, of course I am. It no longer becomes a question of if, it's when I'm going to start my next video. So give yourself permission and time to learn the YouTube skills and fall in love with the process. This isn't a 2 or 3 month journey. Hell, it's not even a 2 or 3 year journey. For some, YouTube has already turned into a career that's lasted a generation. So if you want this to become your full-time career, then you've got to go at it full-time for years to come. Giving up and getting frustrated after just a few months and blaming YouTube, blaming the algorithm, to be honest, that's just an excuse. Wow, I have not used this scene in a while. So let's talk about competition. Is it fair to say that back in the day, there were fewer creators, which meant that you had more opportunity to get discovered? Yeah, you could argue that. But you could also argue that back in the day, there weren't as many people watching YouTube videos. So competition has increased along with audience sizes. But let's get one thing straight right here, right now. YouTube has never been easy. Even when there were fewer creators, we were all still trying to figure everything out. It's always been a grind trying to work out what content works, how to stand out, and why one video gets 10 views, whereas another video that you spent 10 minutes on gets 1,000 views. YouTube has always been a constant hustle in that respect. The same hustle that you're going through right now. And you've also got to appreciate that a decade ago, the industry was a lot more immature. You are blessed with resources these days. Whether it's the A/B thumbnail testing tool, YouTube Shorts, community growth tools, you have so many resources and opportunities at your disposal. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, back when I started on YouTube, even vidIQ wasn't around. But if we do jump forward to today, as our channel approaches 2 million subscribers, you would think that we have it all figured out. But the truth is, we haven't come close to figuring out YouTube, even though we are YouTube educators. The challenges simply change. Let me give you an example of a really big change that you have to contend with. The shift from struggling to get discovered to trying to meet expectations. Your audience is always wanting more from you, higher quality, better ideas, more consistent upload schedules. And the pressure to deliver on that, video after video, is intense. I'm gonna be honest with you right now. If you've been watching vidIQ for any length of time, you will know that around about 2 years ago, I went on a sabbatical because for one reason I was moving continents, but for a second reason, I was just burnt out. But since I've returned, it feels like I'm just back on that hamster wheel, trying to make video after video after video. A lot of the times, it's not just about creating content that you enjoy, it's simply maintaining what you've built. And trust me when I say that pressure can be exhausting. And on top of trying to keep that momentum rolling, you know what else starts to gnaw at you? Whether or not you're still relevant. You know what I've just realised? All of my favourite Star Trek series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, maybe, they all lasted 7 seasons, 7 years. Effectively, vidIQ, without any break, is at the start of season 8. So how do I keep people coming back, keeping them engaged, preventing them from moving on to the next thing? And this is all made more difficult by the constant evolution of the YouTube platform and this ever-changing landscape. And let's get back to the idea of competition. When I started making videos for vidIQ about YouTube education, there were maybe half a dozen other people on the entire platform doing the same thing. Now, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands, and they are damn good at it. Just to pluck a few random names out of the YouTube education space, Ed Lawrence from Creator Booth, Marcus Jones, April Lynn Alter, I look at all of them in equal measure inspiration and envy because they are incredible at what they do. And just platform wide, there is a YouTube educator for every type of creator, every type of niche, every type of channel. The storytelling, the production values, the creativity, it is all on the next level. And small channels do have that somewhat unseen advantage of being able to be more nimble, to try new things and innovate without so much risk. You know, sometimes what I see on YouTube from a channel with less than 1,000 subscribers makes me feel like a YouTube dinosaur. And when I feel like that, I want to reinvent myself, try new things, innovate. But in order to do that, I need to get off this hamster wheel of constantly creating content. But if I do that, I'm not going to meet my audience's expectation, which demands a couple of videos a week about YouTube education. You can see the dilemma. These new, small, emerging channels are redefining the YouTube education niche. But you could say that about any niche on YouTube. There are new channels starting today that are making content that rivals big channels, sometimes even surpasses them. And that does make me wonder sometimes how I would do if I started all over again on YouTube and nobody knew who I was. To be honest, it's a terrifying thought. I'm not sure how I would pitch myself as something new and something refreshing that a brand new audience would care about. And all of these thoughts and feelings lead to something that you probably won't believe, but is true. I, to this day, still have imposter syndrome. Half the time I'm thinking to myself, if I can just stay one step ahead of my audience, I'll be all right. But the other half of me is constantly worrying about giving the wrong advice and screwing up somebody's YouTube journey, which is the last thing I want to do. And that's the reality that we live in. Just because we are considered a big channel doesn't mean that we are at the top of our game. You have to keep evolving, adapting to your audience's needs and keeping up with the constant changes of the YouTube algorithm. But you should know by now that is cause and effect. The audience impacts the algorithm. So here's the hard truth: the grind doesn't stop. It changes, but it doesn't stop. In the beginning, you're fighting for any sort of traction. And then you're fighting to stay relevant, to evolve, to adapt. And that's why it all goes back to falling in love with the process, not just the results. Because that's one thing that's going to burn you out faster than anything else. Might sound a little better during this set because I can use my expensive microphone. Oh, and thanks for the extra 600 subscribers since we started making this video. But we are here to talk about those numbers and the constant chase of them. Here's another reality we all face. You're never really satisfied with where you are in your YouTube journey. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing to strive for progress, but it's relentless, and it's just how we're wired as creators. You hit a milestone, and instead of taking a moment to enjoy it, you immediately set your sights on the next goal. When you're getting 100 views per video, you're probably thinking to yourself, man, if I could just get 1,000 views on my next video, it would make everything better. And it does. For about 24 hours. Suddenly you're asking yourself, how do I get 10,000 views on my next video? It's like the goalposts keep moving, and no matter what milestone you reach, you realize that the sense of satisfaction doesn't last long. You're always looking for that next number, that next achievement. And do I need to say anything about the infamous 1 of 10? The number of times that line in the YouTube studio has determined my mood for the entire day. It's embarrassing to admit, but when you publish around 100 videos a year, that's the emotional roller coaster you end up on. We try to joke about this number with memes, but more and more, I'm trying my best not to pay attention to that figure as much as I used to, because it's turned into a superstition at this point. I've convinced myself that it's bad luck to check on a newly published video until it's been live for at least 30 minutes, so I can check what number out of 10 it gets. Does anyone else do anything really weird like that? Anyway, back to the numbers game. I do know that it's even more stressful for smaller channels because there's literally money at stake. 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time equals monetization. But those are huge numbers to set your sights on when you start at 0. And as for YouTube Shorts requirements, I don't know how anybody has the emotional resilience to tackle a number such as 10 million views in 90 days. I salute any creator who's monetized their channel through that method. When this type of addiction to the numbers game starts to happen, there's something you need to keep in mind. This is really important, but it's also really easy to forget. Now in this scene, I'm probably supposed to get all deep and meaningful and philosophical, but I can't really do that when my t-shirt just says eat. It is so easy to get caught up in the daily grind, the numbers, the pressure to grow, that you forget the impact you have on the people who watch you. You inspire, inform, entertain, and sometimes without even knowing this, you fundamentally change the state of mind or mood of a person. They come away from your video feeling and thinking differently, hopefully in a positive or constructive way. This is just a sample of the comments from our community, but they are telling us that we're doing something right, something meaningful, something hopefully that's life-changing. YouTube grants you this awesome power and responsibility of influence and change. So do remember, even if you've only been creating for a few months, you've likely already had this impact, even if your audience doesn't always tell you. But also, take time to reflect on how YouTube has changed you. In the 15 years I've been on YouTube, I've now made nearly 3,000 videos. And I've had my fair share of tough days on the platform. You upload a video that doesn't perform well, or you have creative block, it makes you feel as if you've built everything on shaky foundations. But in those moments, I try to remind myself of something really, really important. I started all of this because I love making videos, and 15 years and 3,000 videos later, I still do. And I love helping other creators grow their channels. That's what drove me to join vidIQ in the first place. My goal has and always will be to help creators achieve the same dream I had, to turn my passion into a career, only to do it faster and better. And we as a team can and should be proud of the fact that almost 2 million people have been engaged enough with our education to press the subscribe button. And we should be even prouder of the fact that we've had almost 200 million opportunities to do some good in the world of YouTube education. And the comments that we showed you earlier prove that fact. But now that you've remembered that, there's also a harsh reality to contend with. As your channel grows, everything gets a lot more serious. You lose a sense of innocence, especially when your YouTube channel becomes your main source of income, turning that passion into a career. Suddenly, you're not just doing it for fun anymore, it's about making a living. And that's when the pressure can be truly overwhelming. Can YouTube sometimes feel like a job? Yeah, it can. But try to remember the job you were doing before YouTube. I'm hoping that when you weigh up the pros and cons, YouTube still comes out on top. This is a privilege I've worked hard for, and it's something that I dreamed of being able to do, and now I get to do it full time. Except for when I really couldn't. You see what I've done there? Same set, just a different angle. This might be hard to admit as a creator, especially if you've been doing absolutely everything on your own since the start, but at some point you're going to need some help. It is natural and perfectly understandable if you want to control absolutely everything on your channel, since it feels like your baby. But if you want to scale, grow, and avoid burnout, then at some point you're going to have to relinquish some of that control. I will be honest with you, this was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn. In the beginning here at vidIQ, for the first 3 or 4 years, probably the first 1,000 videos, I did everything. From the ideas, planning, filming, editing, thumbnail design, uploading, you name it, I was in control of it. And to start with, that is totally normal. You're wearing all of the hats when you do have a small channel. And if truth be told, I didn't want to give up any of that control. I loved being in charge of every single detail because I felt no one else would understand the passion, the goal, the vision, the way I did. But what you eventually realize gradually over time is that you are your own worst enemy, because you can only do so much and, quite frankly, only know so much. And when you attempt to grow and scale your channel, there is often a bottleneck, which is you. the original creator. So I realized eventually that in order to keep growing, I would have to become we. And that meant building a team. And that was actually one of the biggest unlocks for the channel, when I started to do less. First it was Dan, who's been with us for at least 1 million of those subscribers, and then John. But as well as the talent, we have a gang of unsung heroes in the background, the editors, scriptwriters, thumbnail designers. Suddenly there was so many ideas, so much incredible output. It was a game changer. Trusting someone else with parts of your channel can feel very scary at first. But once you do it and you find the right people, you'll soon realize that it's the only way to keep improving and to stay consistent. Letting go isn't easy, but it's how you scale your channel without burning yourself out. But having said all I've said over the last 20 minutes, what's the biggest lesson I've learned after gaining 2 million subscribers? Well, it's actually quite simple, and it's the very first lesson I learned when I published my very first video on YouTube. Never give up. You see, the mission never ends. Our mission here at vidIQ is to empower creators with the tools and the guidance to help them succeed on YouTube. And as the platform continues to grow and thrive, so does our mission. As long as there are creators out there who still need help getting more views, more subscribers, monetizing their channels, we'll be there to support them. We'll be there to support you. And is that mission worth all of the hard work, the stress, the pressures, the deadlines, the emotional roller coaster, the 10 of 10s? Absolutely. So whatever your mission on YouTube is, start now, continue it today, and don't expect to finish it anytime soon. And if you do need any help starting your YouTube mission, then this is where you start with the ultimate guide.